Hello, everybody. It is the American Dufus Show. Don't be a doofus. It is 5:02 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the 7th day of March, the year 2022. It is the American Dufus Show. Don't be a doofus. I'm your host, Barry Welsh. And this is news done differently. Um, we don't have a major corporate sponsor that we have to be aware of offending. We are crowdsourced news. We are crowd-funded news for the people, funded by the people, and many times provided by the people. One of our contributors sends me quite a bit of information, and as soon as I can find that link, there it is. Credit Sissy for this. Again, one of our contributors. We're starting out talking about Vladimir Putin. Putin hiding his lover, Alina Kabavina, and their kids in Switzerland. His mistress is allegedly hiding in Switzerland with their 4 young children while Putin carries out his assault on the Ukraine, attacking innocent citizens, causing a refugee crisis. His family is holed up in a very private, very secure chalet somewhere in Switzerland, for now at least. And that comes from page 6. Page 6 is a British news information and intelligence page or print. And I've got it fixed so that I can see comments. Hello, Sissy. I was just talking about you. And hello to everybody out there watching. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, and we're on YouTube. And it could be expanding. We'll talk more about that. Speaking of our, at the moment, okay, here we go. Our topic of the day at the moment is Vladimir Putin and the president of Russia, president, a title that usually is associated with someone that is elected, and he indeed was elected. He was elected president for life. Little detail though, on that ballot, no one opposed him. There was only one choice, and so anyway, the government of Russian Federation has approved today a list of foreign states and territories that have committed unfriendly acts against Russia. The list includes the United States, Canada, UK, EU states, Ukraine, Montenegro, Switzerland, Albania, Andorra, again, Switzerland, that's where his family is supposedly, Iceland, Liechtenstein, Monaco, Norway, San Marino, North Macedonia, also Japan, South Korea, Australia, Micronesia, New Zealand, Singapore, and Taiwan. And this comes from TASS, the Russian news agency. It's pretty much going to be the only news that comes out of Russia on a semi-regular basis is going to be from either TASS or Sputnik. And we will just jump right into what's going on with the conflict. Here's a fact you won't hear on Fox News today. Exxon, Chevron, Conoco, they made $46 billion in profits in 2021. Now they're using 40% of those profits to buy back their own stock. Big oil is raking it in, raising prices and taking advantage of the war in Ukraine to push for more drilling here at home. That may be a situation for which we should monitor. There was a meeting today between factions of Ukraine and Russia at the Belarus border. Russia has claimed it will stop the war. Okay, well, somehow I just clicked on the wrong thing and I lost my story. So we'll just move along. Russia's claimed it will stop the war if Ukraine will cease hostilities towards Russia, if Ukraine will agree to never join NATO, and if Ukraine will agree to recognize the portions of Ukraine that Russia invaded in the past and now occupy, basically Crimea, Luhansk, and the other one just to the south of there, Donsk. There are had to make sure I was on the right tab. There are a number of things that are going on around the world other than Ukrainian fighting off the invasion of Russia. And we talked a little bit about this yesterday, about the fact that Israel had utilized American fighter aircraft that they had purchased in the interception of two Iranian drones that supposedly were carrying supplies to Pakistan or to Palestine, and we have some. Come on, we have some footage of that. This may look like a video game to you. I questioned it at first. I thought, okay, is this really legitimate, or is this, taken from a? But this is legitimate. And there you see the first drone taken out with a rocket. Here's the second. Sometimes I wonder if people are trying to, if things intentionally get interrupted on this show. This is the first launch again. Again, this is Israeli pilots in American-made aircraft taking down an Iranian drone, and now a second Iranian drone flying with supplies for Palestine.
Carol cabinet.
And there's the second drone. Why does this matter? In world wars, it's generally world wars are not fought in one country. Okay, Israel is thought to be a devout ally of the United States. And it will be interesting to see how things play out as we go forward. Israel, again, trying to be peacemaker, trying to negotiate something with Putin, which is, I don't know, from my perspective, three different times now, Russia has said, okay, we're calling a ceasefire beginning, and they all begin at 10 a.m. We're calling a ceasefire beginning at 10 a.m. so that civilians can leave because we don't want civilian casualties. And then all three times they have fired on those civilians. And mainstream media is covering all that. Okay, you'll be able to see all of that. It's just in these latest negotiations, Russia said, we're going to open up these corridors so that civilians can get out. The only place they can go is into Russia or into Belarus. And once they get there, they will be taken to basically detention camps, concentration camps. This is not going to be a war in Ukraine. This is going to become a war between good and evil. I want to show you this. Now again, this was released a comfortable time after it was shot so that it cannot be geolocated, as well as the faces being significantly covered so that facial recognition software cannot be used to identify any of these people. With that being said, I was asked to show this. And I've mentioned before that the region is very misogynistic, very male dominated, and very male dominated. And the fact that this video even exists is an indication of both what Ukrainians are willing to do to protect their country, and how dire the situation is becoming.
Старика, разрушенный дом, улицу, даже сарай.
Let me start from the beginning. Hopefully we get through all of this without interruption.
Мы женщины Украины. Мы благословили наших мужчин на защиту нашей земли. Мы уже вывезли наших детей в безопасное место. Генофонд нашей нации защищен. Мы присоединяемся к мужчинам и украинской армии. Мы будем уничтожать врага на каждом сантиметре украинской земли, в каждом нашем городе, в каждом селе, в лесу и в поле. За каждого ребенка, женщину, старика, разрушенный дом, улицу, даже сарай. Мы будем вас отстреливать, как бешеных собак. Слава Украине!
Смерть ворогам!
Мы женщины Украины. Мы благословили наших мужчин на защиту нашей земли. Мы уже вывезли наших детей в безопасное место. Генофонд нашей нации защищен. Мы присоединяемся к мужчинам и украинской армии. Мы будем уничтожать врага на каждом сантиметре украинской земли, в каждом нашем городе, в каждом селе, в лесу и в поле. За каждого ребенка, женщину, старика, разрушенный дом, улицу, даже сарай. Мы будем вас отстреливать, как бешеных собак. Слава Украине!
Смерть ворогам!
I'm gonna leave this image up full screen for a minute. This, with a different flag in the back, an Islamic flag, with a different 7 people in the picture. It's very reminiscent of videos we've seen from the Middle East, from people who, as soon as we see a video like this, we go, oh my gosh, they're terrorists. And we talk a lot on here about how one person's terrorist is another person's freedom fighter. Just something to think about. We go now to this from Sky News.
This is the outskirts of Mykolaiv in southern Ukraine, the latest city to experience a Russian artillery bombardment.
They're hitting Balabanovka, hitting residential homes, shooting.
And among the apartment blocks where the shells land, horror and desperation to share with the world what is happening.
Let's show everyone. All the windows are blown off, and the doors as well.
The situation becoming ever more desperate, Ukraine's President Zelensky renewed his calls for tougher sanctions against Russia.
If somebody loses their mind, we have to lose fear and forget about commerce. We need to defend ourselves. Both countries and companies must take a moral stand and fight against an inhumane force which wants to destroy humanity itself.
Still dogged by criticism for not doing more to punish Russia and welcome Ukrainian refugees, Boris Johnson announced an additional £175 million of UK aid for Ukraine.
After 12 days, it's already clear that Putin has made a miscalculation. He has underestimated the Ukrainians, their heroic resistance. He's underestimated their leader. And he has underestimated the unity of the West. And we will continue as colleagues to do everything we can to strengthen that unity in the days ahead to ensure that Putin fails in this catastrophic invasion of Ukraine.
There are explosions in the distance during a day of supposed ceasefire. Those too young to understand and too old to help themselves are fleeing Kiev. Picking their way past this destroyed overpass in Irpin on the outskirts of the capital. It's a dangerous and exhausting journey, but what choice do they have?
It's like a disaster. The city is almost ruined. In the district where I'm living, it's like no houses which were not bombed.
This pin falls off. Kiev's defenders are no longer just Ukrainians. Foreign fighters are helping to prepare for a long-awaited Russian advance.
Fighting for democracy, because democracy is precious and one man shouldn't decide that another country shouldn't have it.
Ukrainian officials have arrived in Belarus for a third round of ceasefire talks with Russia.
Again, those talks occurred earlier, and with limited success, to say the least. Why did I share that at that time? To take us to this. These are the first volunteers of the Ukrainian foreign fighters, the Ukrainian Foreign Legion. You can see the British man back here that we showed in the video. You can see Americans, Mexicans, India's people from India, people from the Ukraine, Sweden, and Lithuania. Why is that significant? It's significant because the Ukrainians put out, it's significant because the Ukrainians put out the call to foreign fighters. And we announced last night on the show here that we had information that Russia was actively recruiting Syrian fighters. I think that's probably come out onto mainstream media by today. It's not only going to be Syrian fighters, okay? I was made aware that we should be looking for not only Syrian army personnel, but also looking for Hezbollah, for Iranian troops, for Islamic Republican Guard, for all of the people that many of the entities that we've been hearing about for years as they have from their side fought for freedom, and as they have from our side been terrorists. They will be, a lot of them will be joining the Russian mercenary units because they will be paid and paid well to fight. They are not going to be fighting as Russian soldiers or citizens. They're going to be paid mercenaries. Okay, is a term that, a mercenary is someone that is paid to, and it goes. We had mercenaries in our Revolutionary War from Prussia, so. United States was born with the help of mercenaries. So don't let's not get holier than thou on a term. What do all the groups that I just mentioned, the Syrian army, Iran, Islamic Republican Guard, my dog is bored. She's tired of me doing these reports and she needs some attention. And I apologize for her honking the pig in the background. Iran, Hezbollah, Syrian army, Islamic Republican Guard. We saw an Afghan freedom fighter. The first foreign volunteer was an Afghan freedom fighter. And the report is he was turned away. And the report is based upon pigment. All the groups that I've been talking about, the Syrian army, Hezbollah, Iran, the Islamic Republican Guard, get up here and lay down. The Islamic Republican Guard, they all have experience fighting. They all have experience fighting in urban environments, which is what this is going to come down to. The Russian soldiers don't have a lot of experience fighting in urban environments. They bomb the hell out of our urban environments, not caring about who's dead, who's alive when it's all said and done, just to create as much gloom, doom, fear, and panic as possible in the citizenry. And last time I had Chris on, one of the questions I asked was, and I wasn't being flippant, what's the difference between a civilian and a combatant, especially when you're arming civilians? So that aside, the people we are seeing getting killed are not those that have taken up arms for Ukraine. Don't be confused. All right. 300 schools, hospitals, churches, markets, bakeries, even more residential places, including high-rise apartment buildings. 24-story apartment building attacked last night. Basically, 24 stories, each floor maybe containing 20 apartments. So thousands of families now homeless overnight. So why is Fox News, Alex Jones, all of the QAnon sites, Trump supporters, why are they pro-Russian? Well, it's really quite simple. If Trump loses, Russia loses. If Russia loses, Trump loses. If Trump wins, Russia wins. If Russia wins, Trump wins. Okay, well, Trump lost. Trump lost the election. Russia went ahead. Will Russia win without Trump? I'm not just throwing this around. Okay. In the fall of 1992, after he cut a deal with U.S. banks to work off nearly $1 billion in personal debt, Donald Trump put on a big push to raise Russian money. 1992. These ties are not new. Donald Trump Jr. digging himself a deep hole from 2017. And let's go to Eric Trump, the younger Trump. Federal investigation into Trump campaign's ties to Russia to be proceeding in fits and starts because Republicans were investigating him. Right here's his quote. "We don't rely on American banks. We have all the funding we need out of Russia." He bragged about having over there it was in the headline, over $100 million in Russian money. So these ties are deep. When you see Alex Jones rather, and you see all those Fox people, do they have Russian money? Have they had long ties with Russia? It's just something to think about. Just something to ask yourself, because we know Trump does. And if Putin loses, the crap that's going to come out about Trump, you will not believe. And if you think there was a Nazi hunt after World War II, now in 2022, with the technologies we have, whoever wins this, or I should say, whoever loses this, there will be very little hope. This is an incredible war. Which side are you going to be on? Because this is going to come down to good and evil. And we have not seen anything yet in Ukraine. You wait until Hezbollah, the Syrian army, the Islamic Republican Guard, wait till they combine into a unit. The tactics that will be used, I don't know if the Ukrainian army's prepared for it. Our friend Chris doesn't think they are, and I'm inclined to agree with him. We haven't seen anything yet. We have not seen anything yet. The next week, 2 weeks, this is removing the biological, the chemical, the radiological, the nuclear elements. This is just going to be atrocities with boots on the ground. Now, the Ukrainian Foreign Legion is growing. It's large and it's growing. 20,000 already, and we just saw the first be deployed. And this war is not 2 weeks old. But those are all conventional fighting people for the most part. Some of them are going over there without having any prior military experience, which I think is just freaking asinine. But that's just my opinion. If they want to go, if they played Call of Duty enough, they're going to go do it. God bless their little pea-picking hearts. But they're all conventional fighters, is the point. The people Russia is going to bring in, they are far from conventional fighters. And again, just something to think about. Let's get back to the news. And when I'm wrong, I say I'm wrong. Okay, that's a big difference between what I do and how I do it, and mainstream media and most other places. If I'm wrong, I say I'm wrong. I was wrong. I said a lady knocked down a Russian drone from the balcony of her apartment with a jar of what we would call pickles, a jar of cucumbers. I was wrong, and the lady This wasn't directed at me individually, but it was directed at all of us that got it wrong. The woman who knocked down a Russian drone, it was with a jar of pickled tomatoes. She wants to set the record straight. Those were not pickled cucumbers. So you can read about her entire story. Pretty amazing, actually. And again, this is, you know, I paused that there at a key spot. I was going to end on this, but I'll go ahead and tease it out now. Z is now in that region, and very soon worldwide will be the next. It will be the next swastika. The Z will be how we identify who's for who. That's not the significance of this clip.
Пидорасы. Пошли нахуй, пидорасы. Пидорасы.
Persons risking their life taking this.
Слава Украине! Слава Украине! Слава Украине! Пидорасы! Слава Украине! Пидорасы!
This is a train that you're hearing Slava Crimea. This is a Russian train that is making its way through Crimea towards the Ukrainian front. Now, it's a patriotic video. That's why it's getting shared so much. But there are things, if we look closer, we can see that what's being shipped in.
Слава Украине! Слава Украине! Слава Украине!
If you pause it.
Пидорасы!
And you get a look at the equipment.
Слава Украине!
Well, I'm not going to get you close enough, and of course, this is going to kick me out just as I was about to. It looks like. Let me just say, not the top of the line equipment that you might expect in such a situation. I asked this last night. I have to keep bringing it up. Is Russia holding a lot in reserve in preparation for bigger attacks? I think probably so. As I've said, I don't think Ukraine is the purpose. Ukraine is a platform. Ukraine is a stage where this is being played out with much, much bigger, loftier intentions in mind, especially the mind of Vladimir Putin. This is the WTF story of the day. The foreign minister of Russia, Mr. Lavrov, said the goal of Russia's special military operation is to stop any war that could take place on Ukrainian territory, or that could start from there. Okay. I can't even, I have no comparison. I have, the only thing close to this would be the Japanese ambassador telling the Secretary of State that Japan does not intend to attack unless these demands are, if these demands aren't met, Japan might attack. And he was having that meeting an hour after Japan had bombed Pearl Harbor. Let me read this again. The goal of Russia's special military operation, it's not an invasion, it's not a war. Okay, you can't even say those words now in Russia. You can't say the word war or the word invasion. And all of us know somebody that's spouting Russian stuff. All of us know somebody that we're going to have to keep an eye on, because they're brainwashed, they might just be evil. We don't know. We're going to have to keep an eye on them. You know, you're going to have to know your communities. I'm not saying freak out. I'm not saying get paranoid. I'm just saying know your environment. It's something we should all do constantly. Know our environment. When you go into a building, look for the exits immediately in case there's an active shooter. That's not crazy. This is America. Active shooters happen every single day somewhere, whether it's a policeman opening fire on something. You know, you get hit by stray bullets just the same as you get hit by somebody pointing a gun at you directly. I'm just saying, be aware of your environment. Know where those diehard Trumpers are. Watch for Z's. Be aware. Be aware. I'm not telling anybody to do anything. I'm just saying, be aware of your environment, because this is an absolute crazy time and we don't know. We do know there are, in World War II, we do know that there were thousands upon thousands, possibly even millions, of supporters of Hitler and of Nazism. And there was a major rally for the Nazi Party held in Madison Square Garden in New York City, New York. You can do those kind of things in a free country. Doesn't mean they're not appalling. It doesn't mean we shouldn't be aware of who they are and where they are. It's the same now. Watch for the Z's. Watch for the Z's. We're going to see them here in America very shortly, if they're not already here. Japan has today declared the southern Kurils. These are islands that have been under contention. Russia says they own the islands. Japan says that they own the islands. And today, Japan declared them to be Japan's sovereign territory. Japan also cut off all ties with Russia. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, QAnon congressional representative from Georgia, purchased stock from the largest military contractor in the United States less than a week before the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Inside information trading is something that if this wasn't such a fast-flowing situation, she would be in so much trouble for, let alone, don't look at close-ups of her neck because she might have scales. I'm just saying, you know, those of you who think there might be lizard people, look at her. Okay. Don't just look at Biden. Look at her. I'm just kidding. All right. That's just a little moment of levity. Here's a name to remember. Marcus Flowers, proud Army veteran, patriot, Georgia Democrat running for Congress to replace Marjorie Taylor Greene. Good luck with that. I don't know if you'll be able to do it, but good luck with it anyway. Our daily picture of Ukrainian farmers taking yet another Russian fighting vehicle into custody again, and plus our daily dog picture too.
Постоянную радиосвязь.
Вытянули з Гребелю. Там шли бої, там ще є 2 единиці.
Притягнули нашим, ще зараз підемо притягнемо.
He said, we're going to sell this on eBay for $400,000. No, he actually was saying, I think he was saying, we're going to take this and use it on our farm. Our daily story that racism is always in existence comes from Washington, D.C., and sadly enough, from the trucker convoy. The most worrisome moment, a crowd surrounded a black reporter from Washington, D.C.'s ABC affiliate. They asked why a black reporter was sent. They demanded he say, truckers are heroes on the air. When he refused, a man repeatedly leave, and his face, he left visibly shaken. Man, truckers were heroes. Truckers were heroes. They're making themselves zeros. And obviously they not going to care about fuel prices. And the thing is, this isn't all truckers. But that's the way our society works. Not all truckers, man, I know truckers. I know some truckers. They're great people. You know, they're not in Washington, D.C. at the moment. They're out making a living. But it's going to be all truckers because that's how our society works. Just because they got misled by some dude who's going to make a whole bunch of money off of their pain. The mayor of the Ukrainian town of Hostomel was shot earlier this afternoon, about 6 hours ago. He was shot dead by a Russian sniper while he was out distributing aid. And International Red Cross says evacuation routes from Mariupol, Russia, the evacuation routes that Russia provided, they were all mined. They all had tripwires and landmines across them. So as soon as any civilian attempted to leave, they would be blown up. I said we was. This is not in Russia. This is in Australia, and this is. I'll just say coming to America before next weekend, sadly, but I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. Russian Navy's patrol ship Vasily Baikov was damaged by a Ukrainian multiple rocket launch system in the Black Sea near Odessa. A lot of bombing in Odessa. There was talk about an amphibious landing, and the ship sank, and there's no information on their crew. I had been trying to, normally I start out the episode with a look at Flight Tracker. And when I'm not doing an episode, I find all kinds of stuff on Flight Tracker. And when I'm doing an episode, it seems like other than knowing where the Forte 10, Forte 11, or Forte 12 or 21 drones are, there's not a lot going on. And it's because of the timing of my episodes. So I'm sharing this screenshot with you from one of the open source intelligence people, Grammar Dominatrix, and she follows the follows the flights quite often. And in this one, there's a plane that's just off screen, and it's off screen. Oh, I'm sorry, it's right here. The other one's up here. It's right here. This is the one. GORGON, Gorgon 12. If you watch Flight Tracker and you see Gorgon 12, it is indeed a Boeing B-52 Stratofortress. So just making a loop around the area and flying back to base. Just again, we talked about this the other night. I just wanted to show you that it was actually true. US B-52s are flying fully loaded and locked, cocked, and ready to rock, as they say, if need be. Hopefully it never comes to that. I had this yesterday, and we were running out of time last night, and I was going to wait and share it this afternoon. It is well worth the few minutes here, as we get a real insight into how this all happened. A lot of Russian troops honestly thought they were on an exercise, and their junior officers didn't even know they were going to be invading Ukraine until hours before it was going to happen. That's how big of a secret it was to the Russian people. It was a secret to the Russian army even.
Да, нам говорили, что якобы на территории Украины, но это еще, как бы, когда мы в России находились, по средствам массовой информации, там говорилось в основном о том, что на территории Украины господствует, я сейчас дословно 100% ошибусь, поэтому не судите строго, что на территории Украины господствует фашистский режим, что националисты, нацисты захватили власть в свои руки, что обычным людям нужно помочь избавиться вот от этого, ну, условно говоря, ярма. Вот, то есть цель нам довели такую. Естественно, это была информация односторонняя, то есть у нас же есть интернет, там иногда пролетает, то есть из других источников. То есть мы могли немножко анализировать, то есть мы, естественно, мы сомневались, то есть до конца мы не понимали естественной ситуации. Мы только когда я лично для себя, когда мы только сюда зашли, потом я когда посмотрел выступления боксеров профессиональных ваших, то есть я на родине я всегда за них любил, это Усик и Ломаченко, это мои любимые, ну просто герои, реально. Я сейчас просто не лукавлю нисколько. Эти люди просто готовы взять в руки оружие. Они говорят о том, что мы вас сюда не звали. И мне становится реально стыдно за то, что мы пришли на эту страну, на эту территорию, на территорию Украины. Просто вот сейчас женщина нам рассказывала, да, случай, она стоит и плачет. Мне просто стыдно реально за это. Я не знаю, почему мы так поступили. Ну, вернее, догадываюсь, потому что мы мало знали, мало думали своей головой, в конце концов. Просто вот реально принесли горе на эту землю. Я не знаю, сколько нужно времени искупить это, и вообще, возможно ли это в конце концов. Там, мы там отсидим в тюрьме, не знаю, там, любой приговор, там, который мы заслужили, это ради бога, это как бы мы уже готовы все принять. Но просто я говорю, что искупит ли это вину? Мне просто жаль тех людей, которые на территории России находятся сейчас. Они, в принципе, ни в чем не виноваты.
You can find that video in its entirety. You can find that video in its entirety with a quick search.
Не стыдно. Великую Отечественную более 800
Again, I mentioned earlier. Thank you. I mentioned earlier that Z will be the new swastika.
Это город Георгиевград. Город, который не покорился и победил. Город, которому не стыдно. Великую Отечественную более 800 тысяч ленинградцев отдали своей жизни, но они сдались. Неужели вы думаете, что мы, потомки людей, которые годами голода, но били фашистов и держали фронт, продадим родину за доллары и айфоны?
Своими принципами мы не поступимся. Мы никогда не променяем своих героев на персонажей Марвел.
Советская армия и блокадники разорвали фашистское кольцо вокруг Ленинграда. Задача наших военных сейчас — насмерть затянуть петлю на шее нацизма, прекратить, наконец, 8-летнюю войну и ужас на Донбассе, защитить наших людей, вынужденных бороться за право свободно говорить на родном языке. А наша задача — защитить...
So be on the watch for it. Be on the watch for it. And question yourselves when you start to see it. Why are those people doing that? Do they know what that means? Chances are they probably do. This is a little bit of audio only that I was sent.
My name is Alex Wade. I'm an emergency coordinator with Médecins Sans Frontières in Ukraine. The situation across the country is becoming more dire every day. We're doing our best to monitor the humanitarian needs across the country, but this is a major challenge because they are changing and growing so quickly. Our highest concern today is the situation in Mariupol. The city has been heavily shelled day and night for the last several days. There has been shelling in the center of the city, and on the outskirts, the damage is even worse. There's been supermarkets that have been hit. People having no other access to food have taken food from the supermarkets, which are almost completely empty. The pharmacies are almost completely empty. There's no electricity, which means no heating, and there's no water. We have direct contact with our staff, our colleagues, people we've known and worked with for years who are there, who are communicating these needs to us. They don't know where they can get water. People are drinking rainwater or collecting snow for water. People have literally broken into heating systems to take the water from heating systems to be able to wash their hands. If the situation is not addressed immediately today, tomorrow, in the coming days, there is going to be a serious emergency and a possible disaster.
That was 3 days ago. And the citizens of Mariupol are still under the same situations, only worse. Again, I showed you this last night, in case you missed last night's episode, and you're a numerologist, just a little something to think about. Purely coincidence is my hope. So, thank you. Thank you all for watching. That's going to do it for this episode. I'm going to be back tonight. Probably be back on tonight. If I'm going to be, there'll be a notification up that I'm coming back on. I'd like to come back on and just talk with people, answer some questions, take some questions from comments, maybe have some people possibly come on with me if I can figure out how to do that. Sure it does, T-Rex. Yeah, sure it does. It does. You're right. It does stand for victory. The swastika had other meanings too. All right. Just to be clear, don't be a doofus. It's the American Dufus Show. We'll be back on. Like I said, I will probably be back on later on tonight. If I'm going to be, I'll at least put up a couple-hour notification to let you know in case you want to come on and ask some questions or you have some comments. And again, you can leave them in the comments, or I'll put the link up and you can come on and join the show. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do it yet because I got some other things I got to take care of that have just kind of come up. Family matters, so to speak. And I love you all. Thanks for watching. Hit the notification bell if you're a subscriber. If not, look for notifications when we are going to be on. It's on Twitter, it's on Facebook, and it's on YouTube. And it's called The American Dufus Show. I'm the host, Barry Welsh.